Hi guys! Welcome to my review of episode 612 of Pretty Little Liars, Charlotte's Web. This episode definitely felt very much like old school Pretty Little Liars. I said at the end of my last review that the end of the first episode of 6B felt very much like we were being kind of like thrown back in to a very similar starting off point to the first mystery. So everything that happened in the pilot episode, the way that that all ended, with Ali's funeral having happened, and the girls then being interrogated by the police and told not to leave Rosewood, that was a very similar ending for 611. So I was excited for 612 to see how they were going to continue on from there, and it did not disappoint. In terms of the actual Charlotte murder, thus far our main suspect probably is Ezra, and that instantly makes you think that it probably wasn't Ezra. I was thinking this myself when I was watching the episode. I was like, oh, it's just all the evidence so far is pointing towards Ezra, which just makes you think that of course it's not going to be him, because if there's evidence pointing to someone, it of course means that they are not actually involved. And so I had said that, and then I've read quite a few articles since then that have all said the same thing and been like, yeah, well, if they're pointing the finger at Ezra, it definitely wasn't him. Ezra is obviously not in a good way. He is not the character who we left behind at the end of 6A, who had kind of come through that sort of like dark period when the girls had discovered that he was writing that book about Ali, and kind of redeemed himself and gone back to his former self. He's obviously been through quite a lot of traumatic stuff since we last saw him. He's not very presentable, he's very stubbly, he's drinking a lot, he's not in a good place in his life at the moment, and having Arya back in it is probably just causing a whole lot more confusion. The one thing that they're doing that they never did before really is have the girls kind of divided. So you've got Hannah and Spencer and Emily looking into Arya and kind of investigating Arya. Alison is very suspicious of Arya because she left town immediately. She was asked by the police not to, but she went back to Boston for work, where we met her new boyfriend Liam, who is very cute. I approve wholeheartedly of him. What I do not approve of is the fact that she obviously hasn't filled him in anything. And I know that if you met someone, you wouldn't sit them down instantly and be like, hi, so it's our first date. Can I just tell you that for several years of high school, I was tormented by a mysterious person called A, who would send me threatening messages and threaten my family and kidnap me, torture my friends, and, you know, murder people. So that was good. Obviously, you're not going to launch into that immediately, but she has not really told him any of that, and she has obviously also not told him that she dated Ezra, which I know might be a conflict in terms of the book. Anyway, that's a whole other point. The Ezra storyline, I think, is just one of these classic Pretty Little Liars red herrings. It is providing us with quite a lot of very tension-filled Arya and Ezra scenes, which everyone always enjoys. So I think they're going to keep that going for a little while, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Hannah's fiance seems nice. He has a very strange accent. He sounds Australian, but I don't know, is he Australian playing Australian? Or is he Australian trying to do some sort of slightly British influenced accent? I'm not sure, I'm struggling with that. He seems like quite a nice guy. He looks a little bit older. I don't know if that's just me. Does he look older than anyone else expected him to? That I don't know what I expected him to look like, but yeah, I think that he and Hannah actually seem very sweet together. I was kind of waiting to meet this guy and just feel like it was completely wrong, but I don't know, he seems quite nice. The chemistry doesn't feel the same as Hannah-Caleb chemistry, and I don't think that they were ever going to find someone that sort of vibe was as strong as it was between them. But he's nice, and I don't dislike the guy, so yeah, thumbs up-ish for Jordan. And also thumbs up for the very amicable and mature situation between Hannah and Caleb and Jordan at the dinner. I think that that was very nice. It was the scene between Hannah and Caleb. He said that she looked happy and he was really happy for her, and she said that she was, and that was nice. That felt like a nice moment, and it did make me miss them together, but I think that it was handled in quite a nice and mature way. In terms of the Spaleb stuff, because I might as well carry on from this point into the Spaleb stuff, I like that they're not rushing this Spencer-Caleb thing. They're taking their time with it, and there's a lot of like kind of division online as to what people think has actually already happened. I am in the camp of people who think that so far nothing has happened. I don't think, a lot of people are like, oh, they totally got up to stuff when they were in Europe, and I'm like, no, I don't think so, because I think if things had happened between them, I mean, there's these comments like, oh, that night in Madrid was like my best night in Europe, yeah, mine too, hands down, and oh, we watched the sunrise together and all that, which is all very romantic and whatever, but I think if stuff had already happened, then they wouldn't be as comfortable with situations like him living in her house. Does that make sense? Like, I think if stuff had already happened, I think they would be like, and they weren't actually making it into a serious thing, I think they'd probably be like, yeah, we should probably draw a line here, there's been some confusion in the past, we don't want to go down that road again, so maybe don't come and live with my house and hang out with my mum all the time. Also, they missed out in episode 1 the fact that they met up in Europe. It was like, oh, we bumped into each other in Washington. What, after 3 years of being friends again, after you met in Europe? I mean, this is another thing. 3 years is a long time. So if they have been like harbouring secret feelings for each other, it's been for 3 years, and if nothing has happened yet, I would say that that probably is all down to the Hannah-Caleb connection. So I think they're doing this quite well. From the reactions on Twitter, most people don't agree. I've seen a lot of very negative tweets about this situation, which makes me quite sad, because as I've said, I don't mind it, I quite like it as long as they do it properly, and I think that what they're doing at the moment is nice. They're not rushing it, they're not having it like, you know, whenever they're in the room with anyone else, it's like, oh, we're totally just friends, and then the minute no one else is there, they're all over each other. It's just this sort of very obvious vibe, and the way that they're kind of looking at each other sort of longingly and whatever. I don't think anything's happened yet, but many people seem to disagree with that. Let me know in the comments down below, do you think that anything has happened so far, or if it's just admiring one another from afar? My number one priority is that this does not ruin the Spencer-Hannah relationship, because their friendship is one of my favourite things. The four main girls' friendship is my favourite thing about the show, and so no ruining of that, please. I kind of also like how Veronica and Caleb are now like pals. They like hang out, and Veronica references him just like, you know, as if he's like her best friend. It's like, oh yeah, Caleb will totally sort out this like online thing for you. Speaking of parental relationships, the scene with Emily at her dad's grave was absolutely heartbreaking. I thought that Shay Mitchell did such a good job of that scene, and I'm pleased. This sounds awful, this sounds like a really awful thing to say, but towards like the latter parts of Pretty Little Liars, like, you know, start of season 6, towards the end of season 5, I was really bored with Emily. I felt like they weren't really giving her a whole lot to do. I don't know, I felt like everything felt very like and low-key with Emily, whereas I feel like in this season they're giving her a lot to deal with, and it's awful, it's terribly sad things they're giving her to deal with. She has some sort of health issue, which I am not okay with, and I don't know, I want them to like clear up pretty quickly what this is. It better not be something kind of long term. They can't kill off Emily, they can't kill off one of the main 4 girls, surely. That would be horrifying. So yeah, I think she'll probably be fine, but whatever it is, I don't know how long she's had this for, if she's only just discovered this. It does explain all the medication, obviously, because I thought in episode 1 she'd just kind of gone off the rails and was taking some sort of pills. But evidently that's medication for whatever her illness is, so I'm again hoping this is something that they're going to clear up pretty quickly. I also really enjoyed the scene between her and her mum, and I felt so sorry for her mum, because her mum was so enthusiastic and excited and, you know, talking so proudly about Emily's achievements, and she's just kind of sitting there lying to her, and that I didn't like, and I felt really bad for Pam. So yeah, I'm hoping that this all kind of comes to light pretty quickly. I was surprised because she'd obviously been having blood taken, and she had a plaster. These are the things that I noticed, but she had a plaster on her arm, and she had a short sleeve t-shirt on, and I was thinking at that moment when she was trying to pay for her parking ticket and couldn't, which apparently is suggesting that she doesn't have any money, and then her mum referenced later on that her dad had left her a whole heap of money when he died. So has she spent all of that? Who knows what's going on there, but I do remember thinking like, oh, she'll get changed into like a long sleeve jumper, or like have like a cardigan on or something to hide that at dinner, and she didn't, and no one seemed to notice. I mean, maybe they didn't have a plaster still on her, but like she'd probably have a mark from a blood test. No one seems to notice this, so I don't know, maybe she has magical healing powers from her athletic past. That means if she's had a blood test, she's not going to have a red mark or a bruise left on her arm a couple of hours later. The dinner party scene I enjoyed. It was horribly awkward. The moment when Ali was like, oh, let's say grace, and then like totally tore strips off Arya and then made very pointed comments towards the girls through that was great. It was so uncomfortable and very classic Alison De Laurentiis behaviour, which I liked. Again, I read an article, it was that it's absolutely brilliant. If you haven't read these, there's a girl on BuzzFeed, and I forget her name, but I'll put a link in the description box, but she does like reacting to blog posts for Pretty Little Liars, so it's like 200 thoughts I had during, you know, the season premiere or whatever. And they're hilarious. So in her one, she had mentioned that Ali has always been a bit of a psychopath, and this like very demure, calm, quiet, sweet Ali just doesn't feel right. And she's right. Like, I think Alison obviously has grown up and matured, but she is still essentially the same person, so she's got a very dark side to her and a twisted side to her. And I hope we see more of that in the coming episodes, because I've kind of missed that element of the show. Sarah Harvey's still lurking about. She can see. I have realised that she's not in fact blind, as I had thought at the end of the last episode. No, apparently she has such severely burned hands that she can't do anything with them, and that was because she stopped the bomb that Charlotte had, or did they stop the bomb that Charlotte had ready to set off and they threw it at her? I don't know. It's something to do with the bomb that Charlotte was going to set off in 610, and Sarah got burned by that. That's what I read. So that's what they did to her, apparently. And she has then got off with any involvement in the kidnapping or the situation with the girls, because she claimed to have Stockholm syndrome and is now claiming to have amnesia. One of the girls said, do you really think she can't remember anything? And I don't know if that is from that night, as they all refer to it, or if it's at all. I think it's from that night. If anyone knows, let me know in the comments down below what the situation is with that, because I'm not sure. I don't think there's anything else major that I wanted to cover other than the identity of this person in the fancy car. The people who were absent from this episode, which annoyed me, were Mona, because I just want to see more of Mona. I always want to see more of Janelle Parrish because she's great. Toby, who consistently disappears, didn't see him in this episode. No sign of Kenneth or Jason. Jason, obviously, I missed more than Kenneth, because Kenneth was responsible really for all of this, so the fact that he's not about to take any responsibility is frustrating. But yeah, who is this mysterious person in the fancy car who's going to visit Charlotte's grave and being told, we're terribly sorry for your loss? Things that still also haven't been addressed are, and we're only 2 episodes in, I shouldn't complain, but who killed Mrs. De Laurentiis? We're still waiting to figure out what happened there. And I would quite like to know about that. And also, what was the comeuppance of the fact that Mona killed Bethany? Does anyone other than the girls know this? Did she tell that to the police? Has she been excused because she was mentally unstable and had issues that caused her to go into Radley at the time, or, you know, a year down the line after she'd done it? We haven't heard anything more about that, so I'm quite interested to know if she got any sort of comeuppance for that. But yeah, I hope Mona's in the next episode. I hope Jason's in the next episode. I hope that we find out more about this mysterious person in the fancy black car. If you've seen the promo for the next episode, which maybe some people don't watch, I don't know if they do, in case, well, I won't spoil it if you haven't, but someone significant is back in the next episode, so I'm quite excited for that. In terms of the person in the fancy black car, you imagine that this is obviously someone who has quite a lot of money, and therefore you think, could they be like Uber A? There were a couple of comments on my review of the last episode from Alice and from Lynn, so hi guys if you're watching again, who were talking about the fact that they kind of really hoped that this story arc reveals that there was someone even bigger than Cece or Charlotte involved in all of this, and that there is like an Uber A or like a big A who was pulling all the strings all along behind Charlotte's back, or at least observing the situation, and now that she's dead, he or she is going to step in. I really do hope that that is the case, and if it was Ren it would be even better, because A, it would explain all the weird things that happened with Ren in the earlier seasons, and B, it would mean that Julian Morris would come back, so it's a win-win. So can't wait for 6:13, the trailer looks good. If you've seen the promo and you are happy to watch these things and talk about these things, let me know in the comments down below what you're looking forward to. I really hope that you enjoyed this, and I hope that you enjoyed the episode, and I will speak to you again soon. Thanks for watching guys, bye! Something I've always really respected about Pretty Little Liars in comparison to certain other sort of teen genre shows is that they've never had the girls fall out over romantic relationships.